Hi, Alexandra. How are you this morning?
Hi, how are you?
Fantastic. Welcome to Vegan Lifestyle Magazine. Thank you very much for giving us the time to have a quick chat with you. Now, of course, we know you from BAYWATCH. I'd just like to firstly ask sort of how long have you been vegan and how did that journey eventuate for you?
I've been vegan for 5 years and vegetarian before that for 33 years. I became a vegetarian when I was 14 and read a book called Diet for a Small Planet. This was in 1977. And it was basically a book about how it was better for the environment if you didn't eat meat. So I stopped eating meat, but I didn't quite understand the animal implications until I read Peter Singer's book, Animal Liberation, when I was 16.
Yeah, that's a bit of an eye-opener, isn't it? I think
yes.
It's a very popular book, and he certainly states everything quite easily and clearly, for sure. So, and how did that sort of did that have an effect on your family, or they were quite accepting? That's quite a young age of realization for you.
My family was pretty good. I think it was I was 14, and I don't think you want to mess with a 14-year-old teenager when she tells you what she wants to eat. So
very true.
Supportive, and my younger brother became vegetarian a couple of years later, and then vegan shortly after that. So he was vegan much longer before I. And my mom has always been, she's learned how to cook vegan foods, and she doesn't eat much meat or dairy. So I'm very fortunate to have a supportive family.
Yes,
and my husband is a meat eater, but he doesn't eat dairy, but he does eat meat. And I believe it's better not to preach, and so I try and live by example and let him, if he wants to buy and cook meat, it's up to him. We accept each other as we are. It's probably why we've been so happy for over 20 years.
Exactly. Yeah. Well, you can't force people to do something that they don't want to do. That's for sure. So, and as an environmentalist, I mean, you speak loudly about human overpopulation. You even did a TED talk on that. Can you just explain sort of what effect or how, that's having on the environment and what your thoughts are there?
I believe that stabilizing and lowering the human population is the number one environmental issue that we have to address. If we're going to make any dent in climate change or any hope for all these countries that are dealing with starvation and water issues, and more countries that are going to deal with these water and food issues, we have to lower the number of people on the planet. And I am 52 years old, and when I was born, there were 3 billion people on the planet. There are now 7.3 billion. That means that in my lifetime, the world population has more than doubled. And it's going to almost double again in the next, oh gosh, it's horrible. It's going to go from 7.3 to 11 billion in the next 85 years. And I just can't see that our world sustaining that. And I do believe that if people love people and love animals and love nature, it's the number one issue that we have to deal with.
Yes. So what do you think the solution is there? How can they combat that?
Well, to stabilize the world population and lower birth rates, the number one way to do that is to empower women and educate girls around the world. And of course, you have to also make sure that men are in on the information too. But really, women and girls who have education will choose to have fewer children, will choose to use birth control instead of following blindly cultural myths or religions that don't want contraception. It's very important that birth control be affordable and the right kind of birth control. You want to make sure that you have a birth control. If a person is illiterate, it's no good to give them a pill that you have to take 21 days and stop for 8 days or something. You need to or a condom if the husband doesn't want to use birth control. You have to find another birth control. So it's very important that it be accessible and appropriate. And we all have to agree to have one-child families. I used to say two-child families when I first started talking about this issue in the late 80s, but now the population since then has grown by several billion, and now we have to have one-child families to deal with the issue. And I know a lot of people tell me they worry, the economy will go down, but the economy is a false construct, and there's going to be no economy if there's no food or water, or if there's wars because there's so many refugees needing land, and it's just going to be disastrous. So our world is currently overpopulated, and the numbers need to go down, actually, for us to really have a world that everyone can live in peace, including animals.
Including animals, that's right, yes, yeah. Yeah, and that's what, with your TED Talk, I notice you take that to schools and things like that. So you're starting at the grassroots and trying to educate the population at a younger age so they actually understand the concept. Is that right?
Yes, because I feel like if you start to plan your life, when you're in your 30s, you often have already decided you either had the kids that you're going to have, or you've decided that you've set up a lifestyle that has, big house and 2 cars and lots of stuff, which also isn't good for the planet. So it's important to reach children early, also because my ethics were formed when I was between 8 and 15, my ethics were formed. And pretty much, they developed from there, but the bedrock was formed then. So I really feel that it's important to get to them early.
Yeah.
I've spoken to over 3,000, was it 3,000 or 6,000? 6,000, I think. 6,000 kids in LA in the 90s when I was shooting BAYWATCH, and I took off several months from acting when we were on hiatus from BAYWATCH, just so I could speak around LA to students about this issue.
Okay, that's amazing. So, and what about the electric cars? What's your history on those? Because I know it goes back a long way.
Yes, in 1989, here in the United States, the Exxon Valdez was an oil tanker that spilled millions of gallons of crude oil off the coast of Alaska, pristine waters that haven't recovered to this day. And I was so upset about this spill, and I was so like, I can't believe Exxon is, out there. And then I realized I'm the reason Exxon's out there. I have a car that I'm using, to fill up with that oil. And so I decided to walk my talk, and I got an electric car. I bought my first electric car in 1990, and I've driven electric cars since, and we have solar panels on our house, so our electric cars, my husband has one too, are fueled by the sun.
Wow, that's amazing. So you've been involved with those for quite a long time then. It's something that you feel...
Yes, for over 25 years. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And now, I don't know about Australia, but in America, there's a lot of people who have electric cars, and they might not be people who care about the environment. They might be people who just want a better car, because an electric car is a quieter, smoother, faster, less expensive fuel. It's much less expensive to fuel a car with electricity. I pay 1/5 the cost of gasoline when I plug into the wall and get electricity. Yeah. And for people, and if you to consider if my solar panels, really, it's so much less expensive.
Yeah, exactly. Very, very true. And what are the present projects you're involved with right now? What are you working on, and what are you working on into the future?
Well, I'm producing several projects that are my passion projects. One is that I own the rights with a partner to Ingrid Newkirk's book, Free the Animals, which is the story of the beginning of the animal rights movement here in the United States, when the Animal Liberation Front first came to the United States in the 80s. And we have an amazing script that is a thriller, and it's a mainstream movie that will hopefully encourage and inspire people to look at animals in a different way and reconsider how we treat animals. But it will be told in not a preachy way, just a really great story.
Okay. And at what stage are you at? When are you sort of looking at that progressing forward?
Well, we have the first draft. We're doing the rewrite of the draft right now, and then as soon as that's done, hopefully this fall we will start shopping it.
Perfect. Okay. And any other projects in the making at present?
I'm also producing a vegan cooking competition show. We think it's time, and so that's in the early stages. I have several films coming out, independent films, two, one called Firequake and the other one called Dirty. And I volunteer for Food Not Bombs, which is a nonprofit here in the United States. Or maybe you can certainly have it. It might be worldwide, but we feed vegan meals to the hungry and the homeless. And we do that once a week here in West Los Angeles.
So there's quite a few areas you're still involved with, so you keep very active along that path as well.
I do, and I also support an organization called Center for Responsible Science, which is working to move our drug testing paradigm into the modern world and encourage the use of more human-relevant, non-animal drug testing methods.
Much better way of going, that's for sure. I think a lot more people are aware of the fact that really testing on animals is well, not only detrimental to the animals, but it doesn't really bring out the true, what's involved and, how it can affect humans anyway. So they're finding that a lot lately, which is, people are a lot more aware of those facts now, which is good. And I'm talking about people who are not even vegan, so which is fantastic.
That's right. Well, it just makes sense that if you're going to test a drug for humans, you should test it on something more human, not a different species. And we have a unique approach. It's not an animal rights organization at all. It's a scientific organization, and what we're doing is trying to get the regulations changed at the federal, the FDA, which is the Food and Drug Administration, because as long as there are rules in place that mandate animal testing, pharmaceutical companies will not be able to use these more modern methods. And so we feel very strongly that, and scientifically, that if we can change the regulations to broaden, not cut out animal testing right now, because it's too soon to do that, but if we can broaden the regulations so that they allow also these modern methods, then soon they'll check the animal model because it's so inferior.
Yeah. And how are you going about that path? Are you campaigning to certain government departments or levels? Is that where that's taking you?
The Center for Responsible Science is working to change the regulations at the FDA, which is the Food and Drug Administration. They're the ones that basically set the rules on before a drug goes to market, what kind of test it has to undergo. So we work with the FDA to update their regulations. Okay,
perfect. Oh, it sounds like you certainly got a lot of projects on the go. We look forward to the next film coming out that you're producing, and we thank you very much for your time. I hope you have an awesome weekend.
Thank you so much. It's an honor, and thank you for having a magazine like this one, because I think it's really inspiring for not only vegans but non-vegans too, and it really gives them a path to to figure out how to make the lifestyle change if they want to do that. So thank you.
Well, that's what we're about. That's what we hope we're getting out there and trying to reach as many people as we can. So, and we appreciate your time. Well, you have a lovely day, and thanks very much, Alexandra.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye.